What's up, fellers? This is Cy with Cycon. You've either clicked on this video for one or two options. You're either fixing a broken water line in your yard right now and you don't know how to fix it, or you're replacing that water line, or you're installing it to your house and you want to try and do it yourself. I've been putting in utilities for basically since my working career started, since I started when I was 18 years old. I'm 32, I've got 25 guys on staff. I've got a pretty good history with this little guy right here. This is a copper tubing size, or formerly known, AKA known as a CTS fitting. I'm gonna show you how, proper way to slide this on and off a piece of pipe. I'm gonna show you the tools that it takes to get it done, and give you an opinion, in my professional opinion, about when you fix and how to, or do you replace? Where's your best point on your money, right? Because we're always trying to save money in 2023. All right, guys, let's talk a little bit about the fittings themselves. This is a copper tubing size, which means the outer diameter of this pipe and copper meet the same outer diameter. So this will work on copper just the same as it would on this copper tubing sized pipe. Basically, I've got a little illustration to kind of help bring the tools and a little bit of forethought into maybe your situation. So like I was saying, we've got a couple of different situations, and I am not an artist by any means, but bear with me here. That's why I'm an installing contractor, not an engineer. I don't draw for a living. So say we've got our typical blue collar family home. We've got a garage over here and we've got a driveway. Hope you can follow with me here. So this would make this our yard. Water main is protruding through your yard and under your driveway, and of course this would be covered with dirt. Your water main's just not exposed in your yard, obviously. And this would be your road or your residence road, right? 9 chances out of 10, your water meter is going to be somewhere along this road, so it's easily accessible for the entity to access it, right? So if you normally, I would say 20 feet, 25 feet for a very broad general basis would be your water meter, normally near your property line. Again, very general broad basis there. You're here for one or two reasons. You've got, like the potential drawn situation I've got, you've got a private service line coming from your water meter to your home, and you may be confused why this is your problem to begin with. So let me help you understand why this is your problem and where the entity's problems lie. Basically, you've clicked on this video for a couple of different reasons, and as this, bear with me on my drawing again, but it says leak right there. This is on the back side of the water meter that's drawn right here, and that goes up to your home. You're probably asking yourself, well, there's water in my yard. Why does the water department not have to fix it? And to be honest with you, that's not a bad question. A lot of people, I would say 60% of people, probably wouldn't know this. They would ask the same question as what I'm getting at. So let me help explain it just ever so slightly for you. The water meter usually runs through your yard, underneath your driveway, or it could run on the other side of the road and your service line is a little bit longer. Generally speaking, water mains out here, you're gonna have a corporation stop, which would be this little bad boy. And this little valve, this has an internal ball valve. There's a little ball in there that turns left and right, and that's where you shut on and off. That's where the city shuts on and off your entire water service, your meter and everything. From there, there's a small bit of service line tubing running from your corporation stop out of the water main, like so, sticks out at a 45-degree angle. Your valve is visible up so you can see it, and it runs up and it runs into your water meter box, just like so. Follow me here. We got our corp, we got your service line. This is the city side, comes all the way up and into this ball valve. So this valve right here is what shuts off your meter to your house. I want to note something right here. Don't ever touch this right here if you're on a public water system. Private water systems are a different story, but this is the city's shut on and off. That is not for you. Normally you have a ball valve just outside of your meter box that I'll explain in just a minute, is where your point of on and off should be. It is actually federally illegal to tamper or touch this if you're not licensed to do so. So I would be pretty careful there. Water meter would sit right here, obviously. It's on, we've got water flowing all the way to right here, all the way down into this gooseneck. And at this point is where you guys, essentially the homeowner, out of the back side of the meter can, your ball valve's right here, ball valve's right here, water goes through the water meter, and here is your service line. Outside of this right here, of this fitting, this is your responsibility as a homeowner all the way to the meter. If it's been put in the 80s and 90s and it hasn't been upgraded, that's probably why you're clicking on this video right now. So let's get to that part. Now you guys got a better understanding of what's the responsibilities of the city and what's the responsibilities of the homeowner. You should have a bit better knowledge moving forward. If you've got a puddle of water that's behind the water meter, like towards your house, that's what I'm meaning behind the water meter, in this point of contact, it is your responsibility unless you're in some type of special private organization water system wise. But as a public water system, I'm gonna say 97% of the time, it's going to be like this. And if there is a weird occasion, throw it down in the comments below if you don't mind. You've got a puddle of water sitting here and now you're wondering, how do we fix it? Well, you're in the right place. We've got a broken water line right here, okay? And say you've got a pinhole or there's a crack in it. Essentially, we're gonna clean cut that with some appropriate tubing cutters or a Sawzall, and you'll have this nice clean cut. When you're digging this up in your yard, you wanna be able to get your hand all the way around the pipe, okay? And you're gonna wanna leave yourself, I would say, at minimum 4 inches of room of protruding out of the concrete wall, out of the ditch wall, out of the ground, whatever, so you can get your coupling on it, okay? At this point, I will talk to you guys a little bit more about CTS couplings. If you're going to repair your water line, in my professional opinion, the best fitting you can put in the ground is a no lead stamped CTS coupling, which I explained to you in the front of this video is a copper tubing sized coupling. They do make these for PVC. They are very much different on the outer diameter of CTS and PVC, or what we call in our industry iron pipe size. So galvanized PVC, you can get the same couplings if you're sitting there with a PVC water line. Don't click off the video. You can still get these, but make sure you tell your supplier that you're going to need PVC, 1-inch PVC, to 1 inch or 3/4 or whatever other application there is. So right now we're dealing with CTS, which in my professional opinion is the same outer diameter as PEX you may be able to pick up at your Lowe's, but Polyflex is the actual manufacturer of this one. How do we make this fitting go on here? I want to add a note real quick. These fittings you're not going to be able to pick up at Lowe's. You're not going to be able to pick up at Home Depot. You're going to have to go to an actual supplier, a pipe supplier or a plumbing house supplier to get these. Don't go out there and just throw PEX rings in the ground or get those crappy inserts with the hose clamps, because you're going to be right back in a year, 6 months, maybe a couple of weeks. So take the time. You're going to have to take some time off work. They're usually only open 8 to 5 or on your lunch break, and swing by and grab a couple of these. They're not cheap either. You're probably going, now that no lead is in effect, which is a great thing to keep us all healthy, it has drove up the price of brass. And I'm gonna say it's gonna vary, but you're probably looking at $50 to $100 per fitting, or maybe a little bit more depending on size of pipe and depending on type of pipe. So now we understand that you still can use these for PVC, and I will explain a little bit difference on the pack nut. And we've talked about essentially every different application you can have, because I don't want to lose anybody in this process. Once you have your fittings, you've got your water line dug up, we've got about 6 inches pipe to grab there. And I'm sorry, it's a little grabbed up. This is all used material that we pulled out of the ground over the years. We're gonna take this fitting apart, lefty loosey, righty tighty. We're just gonna take that fitting off of there just like that, and it's gonna fall out. Be careful when you take this out, because there is 2 gaskets in here. I tell this to every single person that to this day, if you take one of these fittings out around me, I will tell you, watch the gaskets. As you guys can tell, there is a, well, grayish, but that is normally a pure white colored gasket, which is very flat-sided. Hope that can focus in there. That's gonna go, we just took our cap. This is a 3-piece right here, fitting. Okay, this is your body. And again, you can see the gasket in there. If your gasket falls out, what do? I also want to show you guys, this right here is the other gasket that's going to be in that cap. You see that this has a flat side and this has a beveled side to it. We're gonna take this fitting right here. Here's our body. We're gonna grab our white gasket. We're gonna lay, just like you were putting it on the pipe, I want you to lay it down. You're gonna take your white gasket and you're gonna slide it in there just like so. And there's a little flat ridge in there you can see. Hopefully you can see that there. It's sitting there very nicely, and it will try and come out, but it does sit in there very nicely. You're then gonna take your flat-sided piece on your rubber, and you're just going to ever so put the flat side down, okay? You can hear it grabbing just a little bit. We're just gonna push that down until it feels nice and firm. We don't wanna cut the gasket up too bad. Don't force it in there with a screwdriver. If it's the right gasket, it should fall just ever so seamlessly on that flat edge right there, as you can see. If I wanted to put this on this water line right here, and we were gonna make, let's go back to the handy drawing here. Say we had a leak right here, and we could access this point and access this point, and we needed to couple from this point and go back to this point. We're gonna take our cap, we're gonna slide it on our pipe, just like so, and you can see that gasket kind of stuck on there. That's okay. Just slide it back just enough. You're gonna be able to slide that in there, make sure you're on the stopper, and in my opinion, while you're doing this, I would just bring your cap up, and you can twist both ways, but just make sure you watch. They're kind of a pain sometimes about wanting to thread back nice and evenly, but what I like to do is hold on to my cap, and I know it can be in an awkward situation. I've done it many times standing on my head in a ditch somewhere, but I like to try and hold onto my cap, whether it's with a pipe wrench or whatever, and make sure I can spin my body until it gets nice and tight and snug. And then I know I still got room for adjustments if I need to go one way or the other, but I know I'm in the right spot in the middle. Then I would go ahead and repeat the process. Take your cap off, slide it back on your other piece of pipe, slide it, put it together, and then you're going to put your cap on. Now we already know that this side is sitting right in the middle. Like I said, it can be kind of tricky, and with pipe in there, it's going to be even trickier. So take your time and don't booger up those threads. We already talked about how expensive these are. You'll feel it when she goes on there. It's very, very, finger tight. So now we've got our connection point. How do we tighten this up? So I want to show you a thing here. Like I was talking about how I didn't want to move my cap. Now that I know my body has pipe evenly right there in the middle of my body and my coupling, I don't want my middle to move now. So I'm going to set this. You can use pipe wrench, you can use channel locks, it doesn't matter, but I'm going to set this where I know my body's not going to move. And I'm going to try and get this nut right here, this pack nut, all the way around so that I can tighten it. And that way, if I ever had to dig it back up, it's on the top side and not the bottom. So then, once we have That's funny. Give me crap, boys. You're probably sitting there telling me the whole time, it's going the wrong way. So now that we got our pipe wrench on here, we're gonna put another pipe wrench or channel locks on our fitting. And you see how I'm spinning the cap rather than I'm spinning the middle, because I want my pipe to stay exactly where I put it as I put my fitting together, okay? You want to spin that around just ever so slightly, where it's coming around and you're going to end up on top. Again, you can use pipe wrench. It's all going to matter about if the pipe wrench will fit on here, okay? You may have to use channel locks, but just make sure you get it good and snug. And you'll hear when you're really giving it force, you'll hear them squeak, 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 like brass squeaking together, right? Once that happens, this is what we call a pack nut. Right here, you can see there's the brass is separated right here, right? You can either do a screwdriver head, or I'm not a big lover of the screwdriver head because they'll just basically snap out of there and you can't ever get it tight enough. A 3/8 or a 10 millimeter, the good old standard 10 that nobody can ever find. Yeah, that's the one you need for both sides until it goes up in a couple of pipe sizes. But then you're basically going to, of course I just said don't use a screwdriver, but that's all I have here. And we're going to tighten that. That's that brass squeaking I was talking about. You're gonna tighten it till it looks like that. You want those brass pieces that I just showed you on this side. See how there's a gap? You want to tighten this down all the way until the brass touches. You don't want to tighten it anymore because you'll bust that screw out of there. I can promise you will. So as soon as you see that brass tightening, it's good. All it's doing is securing this pipe, and it's basically acting like a gripper ring so it can't pull out. Real easy, right? So, see, we still effectively have just a little bit of pipe, and I had my gasket. I wanted to show you guys when you take off this fitting, I've tightened that up just ever so slightly, and you can see this cap, I'm using a pretty good amount of force here. You can't just pull it off. That's what it does. It doesn't need to be unbelievably tight if you've done the fitting properly. All it needs to do is that brass to touch, because it's a keeper, just to grip that pipe and just hold it secure. If you loosen it, you should be able to come right off. And sometimes if you have one that's tightened and you don't have enough room there, all you gotta do is take your screwdriver, stick it in here like so, and widen it out. Or, this is an old trick. You can grab these channel locks right here and set one side on your screw and just grip that ring apart just as much as you can. Not an exuberant amount of force, but enough, and it should come right off there. So lastly, I wanted to talk to you guys really quickly about when is the time to fix the water line or it is to replace the water line. If you have a water line that is water meter to house under 100 feet, okay, and you have a leak in your line anywhere from the meter to there, if the pipe hasn't been installed in the last 5 to 10 years, replace it. It's probably gonna run you $1,200 to $2,500 depending on what type of company you use. And that'll get you taken care of under 100 feet. Say this water meter was on this side of the driveway and your service line came under your driveway and then came into the house, and you had a leak right there. Now, replacing that service line going underneath that driveway is going to be substantially higher if you don't want your concrete cut or anything special, right? So in my opinion, I would go and spend you're probably gonna have $250 to $350 in parts, in brass parts. And the pipe is nothing you can normally from your plumbing warehouse. They'll cut you off a foot section, and you can actually buy them CTS outer diameter sized in 20-foot sticks as well. Long story short there, if your water meter's in this situation, or your, say your house is way back here in the boonies and you had, a 500, that's terrible. I'm trying to write with my left hand. I'm not a left-handed. So like say 500 foot plus service line, and this area, or you've got good pipe in the ground already, yes, that's an application that you go spend $250, $350 on parts, dig it up and fix it yourself, and it will be fixed properly, just like I was gonna come out and do it. Don't go out to Lowe's and get PEX rings. Don't go out to Home Depot and get the barbed inserts that goes inside that NSF pipe. I want you guys to see how thick that service line is. The actual thickness of that pipe compared to my thumbnail, or my index nail there. It's thick. That pipe you can buy at Home Depot and Lowe's, guys, that has really thin walls on it. And if you go sticking anything in it and trying to hose clamp it and pinch it to make it work, it will work for 6-8 months. Yeah, for sure. If you're needing a temp fix or something like that, that's great. But I'm talking to homeowners that want the most insurance policy they can have on their home, and that's included all your utilities working. So I hope this video has enlightened you in one way or the other, and if you don't mind, drop a like on the video below, hit the subscribe button, because this is the first how-to video out of, I think we've got 18 or 19 on the list at the moment. We've reached out on our Facebook and on our Twitter and our Instagram. You can follow us at SyCon, SY-CON. And we actually reached out to you guys and asked a few questions about, hey, what kind of videos would you guys like to see? And this was one of the #1 videos. Hey, can you help me fix my water line? Guys, I appreciate the support. Hit that sub button, and until next time, be safe.